Another Playful Humans podcast. I'm your host, Mike Montague, and my guest this week is a director, writer, actor, and consultant. He is Mark W. Travis. I'm at TFI.US. That is the Travis International Film Institute. And we're going to be talking to him about how to get into filmmaking. I'm super excited about this. It's not really my bag. I'm an audio guy from radio. So hopefully we'll have some great conversations today. And if you want to learn more about Playful Humans, click subscribe, go to playfulhumans.com, come find us and have some fun. Here we go. Welcome to the podcast. We like to start with the joke of the week. The joke of the week this week, just for you, is brought to you by the new upcoming Airplane documentary. Have you heard about this? They are currently filming the pilot.
Oh, very good.
I feel like it shouldn't have been Airplane documentary. It should have been Airplane TV series, right? If they're shooting a pilot.
Well, actually, the joke would be better. They're shooting a film about an airplane disaster, and they're shooting the pilot.
Oh, there you go. You're actually shooting the pilot. I like that. That's a war movie, a new airplane war movie, new Top Gun.
Scene one, kill the pilot. Let's shoot the pilot. Right. That's good.
Here's the official joke of the week. There's also a new dangerous peekaboo virus going around. Apparently, you can end up in the ICU.
Oh, cute.
There you go. That one's for kids.
Cute.
I like that.
I think it's wonderful, Mike, that you are so playfully enamored with what I call, many people call corny jokes. I don't know why it's called corny. It has nothing to do with corn, but that's probably part of the whole thing.
Yeah, I think the kids are calling them dad jokes these days too, and I don't know if the dads really own this or not, but maybe that's fair. Maybe that's more fair than corny. I think
my dad used to come up with those, the groaners. You know, we go, oh, come,
yeah.
Actually, we realized it was quite good, but we didn't want to give him too much encouragement, otherwise he'd keep going.
I feel like that happens with me a lot too. Yeah. Do you have a favorite joke or one you want to share with us?
I have a lot of jokes, and I have one that, which I've told you about, which I think is probably, I'll tell it, it's probably a little inappropriate. It's not corny, but maybe it is corny. Anyway, two old men, in their 80s and 90s, are sitting on a park bench, great friends, and one says to the other, he says, "Joe, I think my wife is dead." And the other guy goes, "Really, Sam? What makes you think she's dead?" And Sam says, "Well, the sex is the same, but the dishes are piling up." See, now that's, and I've had people groan at that, like they do with a corny joke.
The ladies, yeah.
Yeah. My wife rolls her eyes at me. She says, "You're not going to tell that one, are you?" And I decided, well, maybe then I should. Because of the tone, what I love about you and your show, the tone of your whole show. I mean, having done a lot of other podcasts, the tone of this one is, let's have fun. Let's just have fun. And I like that. And actually sort of preparing to talk to you today, whatever my preparation was, that became fun. It's fun to think about just having fun. Even
that's kind of, the whole point of the show here. And I think people can take themselves too seriously. And I'm sure you see this in the film industry a lot, especially when there are big awards or big budgets on the line and all kinds of things. And also with just the art of it. Sometimes people take the fun out of it, trying to do something, artsy or with a message or something too. I think there's a lot of ways to ruin it. What do you think is the best way to approach it, or the healthiest way to approach filmmaking?
Well, I think along the lines that you're talking about right now is, first of all, don't take yourself or your project too seriously. This is not brain surgery. You're not trying to, end the climate change and all of that. First of all, it is entertainment. It is no matter what the subject matter is. But I think the important thing about filmmaking, which I've been involved in for, 40, 50 years, and a lot of my friends are for that long. When you think about it, Mike, what we have done, myself as a director, writer, actor, and other writers and actors, what we have done, which is I think beautiful, we have really we've embraced the toddler within us who wants to go into the sandbox and create something. And
Yeah,
you and I
create
were
a new
talking
world.
earlier about the Legos, your Legos and stuff like that. Whatever it is, the beauty of filmmaking and storytelling is we make stuff up. Even if, which is really kind of delicious, even if it's a true story, we'll make stuff up within the story to make it better. And so it's us using our imagination in order to entertain or intrigue or upset, whatever the purpose of the film is. Doesn't matter. That we use our imagination. It's not high technology, and it's really to be effective and maybe even successful in this business. You really have to use your imagination. You have to allow your imagination to expand enormously to achieve anything that's worth seeing.
Now, you've written 2 books, directing feature films and then The Film Director's Bag of Tricks. And Bag of Tricks definitely speaks to me. But I think the big trick here, and I'm just going to start off with it up front. I was going to ask you a very serious question. I think the biggest trick is how do you get to yeah.
Go ahead.
How do you get to keep doing it? Like I feel like this is one, especially with feature films in your first book, people are just like, I don't even know how you start doing that. It seems like a big leap. And most of the time when I think of that as the answer, I go, well, then you probably don't start doing that. You probably start doing a small independent project for yourself, and eventually you get to a feature film. But what was your journey like, and what do you feel like most people's journeys were like?
Well, my journey was a little different than a lot. I mean, I grew up having no passion for theater or film at all. I wasn't one of those that, as an 8-year-old was making films. And it wasn't really until I got into college. I was one of those students who went to college and really literally had no idea what I wanted to do. I was clueless. In fact, I went to a fantastic school called Antioch College in Ohio, which is really designed, it's a very liberal arts college. It's designed and intentioned to help students who don't know what they want to do find their way.
Oh, that's cool.
And my father.
I was going to guess the major. Did you go like English major? What'd you start out as if you didn't know?
I started out bouncing around with anything that would be suggested that I thought maybe I could handle, like English. Oh, I speak English. I can be an English major.
Yeah, exactly.
Psychology, that's good, but then there were too many books to read, way too many books to read. Then I got into architecture. That was a little bit better because I could draw and all that and imagine. Then I got in. I thought, well, maybe I'll be an artist. I'll be a painter. You can see I was just bouncing. There was one point, Mike, where I thought I am going to be a surveyor because I'd learned surveying. How to survey. I thought I could. So I thought, I could do this. So this is how unmotivated or unclear I was. And then there was a key day at that school, and I was walking past a building. I didn't know what was inside that building, and I heard the sound of a saw cutting through wood. Now that is a beautiful sound for me because my father was an amateur carpenter. He refurbished several homes, rebuilt homes.
Oh wow!
And so I love the sound of cutting wood because he taught me how to work with wood. And so I went into the building to see what they were doing in that building, and I saw there was a big shop in there, and they were cutting things and building things. And I liked the feeling there because of my father. I said to them, do you need some help? And they said, yeah, come on. They didn't know who I was. I didn't know who they were. They brought me in, and they were building. So I started helping them build stuff, and then they would show me blueprints, which I did know how to read because of all my studying of architecture. Could you build this? I said, absolutely, I can build it. So I was building a lot of stuff for them, big stuff, little stuff. Little did I know I had no idea what we were building. Did not know what it was. And it wasn't until a while later I realized we were building a set for a play. And I thought, well, that's kind of cool. So I kept going back there and helping them. And we built a set, and then I saw the play. And the way my career went, I saw that play, and I had a great time helping build the set. And then I watched the people on stage acting. And I said, that looks like fun. And I have a feeling there aren't a lot of technical books I have to read about it. I think, so I started, auditioning for plays, and I got into a play. And then there was a key moment. I was in a play, and we were rehearsing. I'm standing on stage. The director is standing out in front, giving notes, like you do, to the cast. And I looked at him, and I said, I think he's having more fun than I am. I want to do that. And so then I started directing. Then I started writing plays, directing plays, actually producing plays while I was in college. And for the one play that I wanted to do, there was no place to do it. So I asked the people who were in the theater building, there was one big room, there was a storage room. And I said, can I have that room? And they said, for what? I said, I want to do my play in that room. It was just full of junk. You want that room? I said, yeah. They said, okay, well, fine. So I took all the junk out, and in that room, I turned it into a theater, into a small theater, and did my play. So again, it was all very creative. There were no rules. And what I like about it, I really liked about theater, and now film and television and all that too, was that there was no right answer to anything. If someone was interpreting a play or a character, well, I think it's about this. And I said, well, I think it's about something else. They said, oh, really? Well, let's, no one would say, no, you're wrong. So it wasn't architecture. It wasn't psychology. It wasn't all this other stuff that I was trying to study that I found painful because I had to learn the right way of doing it. In theater, I was encouraged to think. I was encouraged to imagine. I was encouraged to try things that might fail miserably.
I love that. And I want to just highlight it real quick, because I think that's one of the big things about play that people miss. When you're doing something creative like that, it's a different type of thinking. When you're dealing with math, there is one right answer to a math equation. But when you're doing this divergent thinking, where there's a lot of different possible outcomes, and you get to pick which one is going which way, I think it's a lot more interesting. And a ton of studies have shown that it makes you more creative for the whole rest of your life. It creates different brain connections and stuff where you learn how to think with divergent paths and stuff rather than converging onto one right answer. And there's lots of good things that benefit. But I also wanted to highlight that in your career, that what I found is, maybe it's playful people in general, but also I've just found successful people aren't necessarily the experts in one thing, especially when you're in a director or a manager type role, or you're trying to lead an organization, that it helps to have all of those different tricks in your bag, like in your book there, right? Is that, and I could be way off in film directing, so I'm going to guess, and then you fill it in the right answer. Okay. I'm guessing there's a cinematographer, but you also need to know how to get good film. There is like an executive producer, but you also need to know how to get something produced. There are actors, but you also need to know how to act a little bit. And if you can take a little bit of all of this and combine it, you now have something that's extremely valuable, and that you're the one that it gets to use and produce all these parts together into something that's cool, where everybody else has their niche. They don't get to see the whole big picture. How did I do?
Yeah, no, you did great. You did great. And we'll just take cinematography for a moment, because it gets a little trickier than that. You don't have to know a lot about cameras and lenses and light. You don't have to know, you don't have to be able to do it. But the tricky thing with directing, any part of directing, you do have to know what you want. You can't just wing it. Say, oh, you shoot it any way you want. No, that's not going to work. You do have to know what you want, whether it has to do with cinematography or production design or editing or actors' performances. Especially actors' performances is very tricky, because I defy you in terms of an actor's performance to define what you want. You may say, oh, no, I know what I want. And you may be right. You may know what you want. Can you define it? Can you articulate what it is? And a lot of directors say, no, I'll know it when I see it, which is pretty honest. It's pretty true. But then we have to wait a long time until you see it, until you're happy and we can move on. So the final choices, decisions come down to you, the director. Yeah, that's what I want. I'm ready. One of the hardest moments, Mike, as you can imagine, in making a film, you're shooting a scene and you're in a setup, whatever the setup is. That setup means where the camera's placed and what it's filming, its angle for that scene. And maybe it took you a half an hour to get the setup lit, and now you're ready to shoot that scene. And you're going to do that scene, and maybe you're going to do a half a dozen or more setups just for that scene. But you're in the first setup and you're shooting. The trickiest thing is, do you know when you're done with that setup? Do you know I got everything I need from that setup? And that's a frightening thing. Like, are you sure you don't want to try it again? And many times a producer will say to a director, do it one more time. Try something a little different. Because you're looking for variety. You're not looking for the perfect performance. You're looking for a range of performances. So that decision to abandon that setup, because no matter how long you're going to shoot this film, you will never come back to that setup again, on that scene again. That's it. You're done.
Yeah.
And so you're guessing. You're trying to imagine even that setup with all the other setups for that scene, how it's going to cut together, how it's going to look. And so you have to be able to imagine it, visualize it in your head, even though you can't articulate it perfectly. So that's the toughest part.
I think that's a great insight into some of the choices of actually doing it. And hey, people can go to your your institute. They can hire you as a consultant, or they could read your books for other bags of tricks.
Yeah.
But I'm more interested in the stuff. What do we think amateurs or maybe young people don't know about the career of being a filmmaker that you think we should know? Because I kind of found out in radio that, like, what I thought was cool when I was in 5th grade and I decided I wanted to be on the radio, the actual job of it wasn't as cool. It was pretty boring sitting in a room by yourself telling jokes to yourself for 4 hours, and especially when you're doing it overnight or something. Is there something like that, or something about a career that you would have people inspect before they really decide, or how would they know if they really want to get into this as their full-time career and not a hobby?
Yeah, there are a lot of things. On the artistic side, when you're talking about like radio and all that, on the artistic side, it does seem glamorous. It does seem, oh, this would be great, and we'll get the actors to do this, and we'll shoot it this way, and it'll be wonderful, and all that. And all of that's pretty true, yeah. But you realize what it's going to take you to get there, first of all. The work it's going to take you to get there. And then the hard part is that once you get there, going back to a little bit of what I said earlier, do you realize the chances of you getting what you want or what you imagine are very, very slim. You're gonna have to settle. You're gonna have to settle again and again and again. It's not going to be as perfect or as wonderful or as funny or as romantic or as frightening as you think it will be, which means you have to keep doing this job again and again and again and over again in order to learn. There are a lot of ways to learn. I mean, you can study with somebody like me. You can come to me and I can help you a lot. I can compress time for you. I can get you someplace faster than doing it on your own, certainly. But the repetition of doing it, that's the real learning, doing it again and again. And no two films are the same. No two scenes are the same. Someone makes a successful film, and you wonder why the second film isn't successful. Because it's a different film. It just came out different. It's going to be different. Every film is a huge, huge challenge. Even if it's a little 5-minute film with you and your iPhone and your neighbor and your neighbor's dog or something like that. And that's what you're going to film. It's a huge challenge. And you're going to, one thing is, which is very, very clear about filmmaking, as opposed to theater. Filmmaking, the film you've probably heard this before, is made 3 times. Once in the preparation when you got the script and you can imagine what it is. The second time while you're shooting it. The third time while you're editing it, which really means the film is made while you're editing it. The other 2 are preparation for that. And during all of the preparation and production, things are going to go wrong. They will not go. So in other words, here's a way of thinking about it, Mike. I'm going to go into production and I have the whole film in my head. And usually you do. That's the goal, that you can see exactly what you want, every scene, every moment. It's that well worked out in your mind, in your imagination. So the process of production is not suddenly shooting and creating the film. The process of production is reducing and depleting your imagination. In other words, you have this scene. I can imagine how I want. And as you're shooting it, it's not quite, you didn't quite, the performance wasn't, and all of a sudden it's gone from what you imagined down to less and less and less. And by the time you're done with that scene, that's all you have left. You have those shots, those takes, that's what you have. So it's been reduced rather than expanded. Then you go into post-production, and now you're trying to figure out how to cut together that scene to make sure it supports the rest of the scenes.
Yeah, let me ask you a follow-up question on that, because I found that a lot in my career too, whether I'm producing a bit or doing a show, or specifically, I think when I was doing web design and other creative professions, a website is never really done. It's not like you get it and everything's perfect. It's kind of as good as you can do today, or at some point you have to decide. For websites, I found out my litmus test was, is it better than what we currently have up there? If it's better than that, we should probably publish it and get it out to the world. Then we can keep working on it. I got to imagine the decision of where to stop when you're in editing, or just like you said, when shooting, is a tough one. How do you know when you're done with a project?
Well, it's a great question, because like you said, with the website and all that, you always feel like you're not done. You always, I mean, it's sort of a joke, but you know that the big obstacles in filmmaking are money and time. Do you have enough money to make this film? Do you have enough time? And every director wants more money, not for themselves, but for the film, more money and more time. Way, way more time. Can you shoot the film in 2 weeks? I don't know. Could you shoot it in a month? Well, it'll be better. Can you shoot it in 3 months? Yeah, that would be good. So there's sort of a well-known adage about filmmaking. Filmmaking, the film is never finished. It's only abandoned. And so you never say, is your film done? Well, I had to, hit those points, I had to stop working on it. For whatever reasons, it's going to be released, or there's no more money, whatever the thing, you have to stop. And I know the films that I've made, that is a horrible feeling of going, okay, you have to settle. And people are looking at you, producers and editors, okay. And they say, Mark, okay, are you okay with that? Can we lock it? Can we lock it? Can we lock that scene? Oh, okay, fine.
Yeah, that's tough.
So you go.
I love it. It's a great answer, though, when you run out of money or time. And I feel like it's true whether you're writing a book or doing anything really creative or playful. I think there's 2 challenges. Well, I'll say 3 for me. One is getting started. I think hitting record and starting on anything you're trying to create, or start writing with that blank page, is really tough. Ending, like we just talked about, is really tough. And then is the career part. Doing well enough with it that you get to do it again, I think is really the key to longevity and being able to make a career out of it. But what would you say is the most fun for you? What is the best part about being a director?
To me, and this is why my career has gone in its interesting trajectory, to me the most fun is the rehearsal or exploration process. Not so much the production process. I like the production process, but because of what we've just been talking about, I find it difficult. It's painful when I have to stop and move on to something else. I don't like that. I like the rehearsal process. I like meeting with a group of artists, actors, writers, other directors even, and we're in the room and all of our minds are working and we're trying out different things, the whole trial and error process, where you literally sometimes discover the film you thought you were making is different than the film you are making.
Yeah, of course.
But that's exciting. That is, and again, going along with your podcast here, that's the playful part. That's why we're playing. And someone says, I got a crazy idea. I say this a lot when we're working. I say, okay, I have a stupid idea. And everybody goes, good. Let's look. I have a
I love that.
Crazy idea. I'm sure it's not going to work, but let's try it. And sometimes they do, and sometimes they don't. But I think that energy, that's why I say back into the sandbox. That's what I call it. Let's get into the sandbox. Let's all play and create something. That to me is the most exciting. Going into production is exciting, but it gets a little wearing. It gets tiring, emotionally tiring because you're locking it down. But then again, post-production is very similar to that creative process, because then you have all this film and you say, what can we make from it? And one way I look at post-production.
Do you enjoy the part of sharing it with an audience? Not to cut you off there, sorry, but when you said afterwards, I didn't hear you mention, like, I love to see the audience's reaction.
Well, it's a great question you bring it up, Mike. There's a friend of mine he's passed away, Sidney Pollack, who's made a lot of great films, used to say, I love making films. The only problem with making films is eventually you have to show it to somebody. Mm-hmm. And that showing, because what's happened once you've finished or abandoned and you locked it down, and that now the film is, quote, done, it's finished, the imagination of the artist, of you, the director, is still running rampant, because now you're imagining not what the film is going to look like, because you can't change it, that's it. But now you're imagining the response you're going to get. And you're hoping and praying. And you can say, that joke is funny. Every time you see it, you think it's funny. You're hoping that at least one other person in the audience will think it's funny, whatever it is. But showing it to an audience can be one of the most painful moments in your life with this thing, with this project. Very painful. So the post-production process can be very, very painful, because again, try to get it to work the way you imagined it. And what you really have to do, which is a hard thing, it's a concept that's good, it's a hard one to really hold on to, is that as you go into post-production, going back to those 3 stages of the film, preparation, production, now we're going into post-production. When you go into post-production, the wisest thing you can do is abandon the idea you had of what this film was going to be. Give it up. Now you're like an archaeologist. Find the film you have made. And it may be significantly different than what you thought you were making. You may have made a better film, and this happens frequently. You realize, wait a minute, there's a better film in here. Even with all the mistakes and those things that that shot you thought you would never use, it now becomes a key moment. And so that becomes exciting, because now we're back to playfulness. Now we're back to, what would happen if I did this? What would happen if we cut the scene this way? Now you're playing with it, and you're hoping that you're going to discover, finding all the little shards in the archaeological dig that you put together, and it becomes something really sort of significant, wonderful, entertaining, whatever.
I love that. And I wanted to highlight what you said earlier about the stupid ideas too. I think in the business world, that's one of the biggest things that's missing. When I see people who play for a living or creative arts, the difference for me, and sometimes it's sucked out of commercial art as well, but with businesses, there's not enough people saying, I have a stupid idea. And let's see what happens if we try it. Most people are like looking for the safe ideas, the things that they know will work, proven things, and there's not enough playfulness and experimentation and failure. So I wanted to circle back to you in here, and then we'll play a game. At this point in your career and what you're doing with the Travis International Film Institute, what's the most fun about being a teacher and consultant for other people, and who should reach out to you, and what are you doing there?
Well, everybody should reach out to me. And I have an invitation, which we'll get to in a moment, how you can. How everybody listening can get to me, find me. The most joyous part of this, Mike, when I'm making a film, it becomes a sort of a cloistered world you live in. It's a very, those people you're working with, that world, and your world becomes smaller in a way, or very focused. And it's great. And then when it's all project is done, everybody goes off on another project, and suddenly you lost the family that you created, and you're going, now what am I going to do? That's another whole issue. With the work I'm doing now, because what I'm doing now, first of all, I'm directing almost every day because I'm working with directors every day. I'm just talking about directing with you. This is what I love doing. I love the constant exploration and discussion of this art form. And because I'm doing a lot of work online, I do webinars online and consulting online. I just finished a 6-week course online for directors on staging scenes. And I was working with 50 directors from 17 different countries, all there on my screen. Now try to replicate that. I go, this is great. I even had one director, Sergey, who lives in Kiev, Ukraine, and is in the middle of a war zone. And he had just come back from serving duty for a while. And I have another, on the screen right next to him is Eugene, who's in Moscow. And I go, I said, where else can we do this? And we're all working together. So to me, one of the most exciting things about what I'm doing now is the community of directors and writers and actors I get to work with. It's much larger and more expansive than just doing one movie, which is going to get down to under 100 people or 50 people, depending on the size of the project. Here I'm working with a lot of people all over the world, and
That's so fun.
And we're in that playful zone. How about if we did it this way? How about if we did it that way? Yeah, you could try it this way. We're into brainstorming. As I said earlier, we're in the sandbox. I think we can build it this. Well, let's try it that way. I think if we wrote it this way, if we directed it this way, if it was performed this way, that is pure joy.
Oh, that's so cool. And again, you can find out more information at tifi.us. That is the Travis International Film Institute. We're talking with Mark W. Travis, who you can email directly. If you just want to talk with him, set up a consultation, figure out if there's any way to work together, or ask him any of your filmmaking questions. It's markwtravis@gmail.com. Pretty easy to remember. We'll also put it in the show notes for you. And if you like books on filmmaking, it was the Directing Feature Films book and The Film Director's Bag of Tricks by Mark W. Travis. They're also on his website there as well. Are you ready to play a game, Mark?
Yeah, one little thing to add, the Mark W. Travis at Gmail. Don't forget the W.
Oh, yeah.
Mark W. Travis at gmail.com. And for those of you who write to me, what I'm offering, anybody who's serious about pursuing directing or writing or acting, write to me and I will give you a half-hour free consultation. We'll talk about you, your career, where you're going, what you want to do. I will give you the best advice I can in half an hour, and that's free. That's my gift to you. But I ask you to do one thing. When you contact me, let me know that it was this podcast that you heard about it, to give credit to Mike and the podcast. I'd love to know where you all come from. Otherwise, just get in touch with me. Now, you said there was a game we're going to play. Is that what you said?
That's right. We're going to spin the wheel and see which game you land on. And I love that you said, remember the W. Aren't the other Mark Travises annoying? There's like a thousand other Mike Montagues in the world. Yeah. And I couldn't even get Mike D. Montague. I had to spell it Michael David Montague at gmail.com for my whole email.
Wow. Yeah.
Just to get one that works. But maybe I was a little late to Gmail. So good news is I own the search engines. If you just search Mike Montague, I'm crushing those other guys. Got to look out for that real estate agent in Canada, though. Okay, you got movie trivia here.
This is going to be tough. I can feel it already.
Yeah, name a movie or a movie franchise where the main character is a child.
Where the a movie. Well, I'll tell you one movie. It's called The Young Messiah. The main character is a 7-year-old boy who was playing Jesus at the age of 7. Now, I know this because I worked on the film. I consulted on the film.
It's a point.
The main character where the
How about the most popular movie where the main character is a child?
The Sixth Sense.
Oh, that's a good one. It's on there, number 5. But Home Alone, Harry Potter, Karate Kid, and E.T. also made the list. All right, question number 2. Name a movie that ends on a cliffhanger.
A literal cliff, or?
Yes, for the top 2 anyway.
On a cliffhanger. That's a tough one. It's a tough one because of TV series now, which all depend on cliffhangers, but they don't end on it. They just end an episode on it.
Again, the most popular movie that ended on a cliffhanger.
I am drawing a blank there, Mike.
Well, cliffhanger was number 2, so that's
it's called
cliffhanger. Yeah. I don't know if it actually ended on a cliffhanger though. It started on a cliffhanger, didn't it? And then Thelma and Louise is the number 1 answer. They went off the cliff, so that's a cliff.
Here's a question: is that a cliffhanger? A cliffhanger is you don't know what's going to happen. I think
right. So the other ones then were Inception, Hunger Games, and The Verdict. I haven't seen the Verdict. That's good. All right, I'm going to give you a choice here. Do you want to continue with movie endings, or do you want to go with Academy Award winning movies?
Either one. Let's go with Academy Award winning.
All right, name an Academy Award winning drama movie in any category. What's the most popular award winning drama?
Now wait a minute. Academy Award winning drama movie, not a comedy. But then you say in any category.
In any category, which ones maybe won the most awards or would be the most popular?
Okay. Well, you have things like American Beauty, which won a lot of awards. And then you have The Godfather, which won a ton of awards.
Godfather's on there, number 3.
Then you have Argo, which won an awards, but the director was never nominated for an award, even though it was. Now, that would be a good trivia question. Films that have won Best Picture, but the director was not even nominated for Best Director. That's a small category, but Argo is one of them. And I think
the backhanded compliment.
Driving Miss Daisy is another one.
You got The Godfather on there. Titanic, The Shape of Water made the list. Gone with the Wind, and A Star Is Born. A couple of those must have just been current ones on the survey there, I think. Yeah. But you got 3 classics in there as well, and you did it. You won. I think that was at least 2 out of. You got 2 out of 3. So you win a free 30 seconds. Do I
get a Lego piece? Is that what I get?
You do. Sure. Yeah, I'll send you a Lego character of yourself. Here, this is me on stage there doing.
Oh, that's cool. I like that.
Some work, but. You win a free 30 seconds here of any ask for us. How can we help us, or you help us? How can we help you, or you help us?
You got the. You've been reading corny jokes way too long. That's.
Yeah, I was working on my puns and riddles.
The brain is going. How can you help me, or how can I help you?
Yeah.
Well, the way I can help you, Mike, just getting to know you now today, which has been delightful, is to keep sending more people to you, and which I will do, recommending to you directly some people who I think would be really good guests, especially if you want to, and you'd have to tell me if you want to keep pursuing this world, the world of filmmaking. If you say, Mark, I'd like to,
yeah.
An actress or a writer or someone. I got lots of people I could send you. So that's how. Oh,
that'd be awesome. How can I help you?
How can you help me? Well, you're already helping me by doing this. One way, we could do this again with a whole different topic. That would be interesting to find a new angle on this. And the way you can help me the most is just do what you're doing, Mike. Do the great work you're doing. Promote this. let me know how I can help you promote it in any way that you want to.
Yeah, we'll get it edited up and shared out there for everybody, and I'll make sure to copy and tag you and make this podcast as big as possible by the time this one comes out. How's that sound? I appreciate it. Again, Mark W. Travis. You can find him at markwtravis@gmail.com if you have a question or want to reach out to him directly. And then go to the website, tifi.us, for the Travis International Film Institute. And Mark, thank you so much for being on the show. And all of you, thanks for listening all the way till the end. If you have an aspiring filmmaker in your life, you want to share this episode with them, or if you want to find more creative, playful adults trying to rediscover and continue to leverage the power of play in our lives and careers, go to playfulhumans.com. There's a club up there. There's a quiz you can take. If you haven't already, click subscribe wherever you're watching or listening to this one. And then most importantly, stop messing around on a podcast and go outside and play. Hopefully you're listening to this while you're doing something fun. We'll see you next time.
Don't wait for tomorrow. Live for today. Keep on chasing the sunshine and go out and play.
Hey, you did it. You made it to the end. But don't worry, there are plenty of more videos where that came from. Just click subscribe to Playful Humans to get notified about our future videos. Now, what are you still doing here? Go play.